So I'm starting one of my first jobs on the NC 3.5. The steering's a little bit heavy. The car's been sat for quite a long time with not a lot of miles being done, and most of these joints look a little bit, well, I want to replace all of them really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the outer tie rods, the inner tie rods and the gaiters. So I've got some parts. This is your inner tie rod. It screws into the steering rack and then screws into your outer track rod, and then a set of gaiters. I've done it once before in another car. I bought the inner tie rod removal tool, so hopefully one of these will fit. This is just a cheap item. I think it was off Amazon or eBay, really not a lot of money. So I think by the look of it, I need to get to the inside of that gaiter. So this bottom panel needs to come off, so that's my first job. As always with old car parts, it was a bit of a struggle to get the pins out, so I just cut the top off. I was able to get it out of this upright. The inside here is a bit of a nightmare. There's a clip in there, and you have to take off this whole of this panel. I'm going to try and get my hand through there and do that one, because that doesn't look like fun. So I forgot to do some filming on the other side, so we're doing it on this side. So when you get into this, it's quite hard to see, so I've shone a torch down onto the inner side. I gave up trying to take all the plastic paneling off underneath because it all goes up into these side bits. Absolute nightmare. So what we've actually done, and it's a bit of a pain, is we clip off that clip in the inside and just pull the rubber out. The difficult bit was then putting it back on, but it can be done. So all you need to do on this end is obviously disconnect your end of your tie rod, ground it off, put the nut back on, and then hit it through, and it was absolutely fine. And then on the end of this rubber, you've got a metal clip, so just push that together, slide that off, and then what I'm going to do is, I think you can see it in there just at the back there, is a metal wound clip. I'm just going to snip that off, get that off, pull the boot out, and then go from there. Because I'm changing the inner and outer tie rod, all I've done is I've not tried to break this joint here, just angle grinded straight through it, and then once you've undone the clip inside, the boot just pops off. Then what you need to do, there's these little metal tabs on this bracket. You need to, on this end of the inner tie rod, you need to knock them back out straight so they're not clamping on here anymore, and then you use the tie rod extraction tool to go around there. I'll show that in a second, but you just need to knock those tabs back. Okay, so once you've knocked the tabs back here, then you can use your inner tie rod extractor. So what you do is you get this, there's different size rings, you get the one that fits on yours, get it over the flats, and then line this up so it's open, slide it over the end, lock it in, and then slide that tab round to lock it, so it's all locked in. And then on the end of it, it's got a normal 1/2 inch socket. Put something in like a breaker bar, and then that undoes your tie rod, and keep winding it out until it's off. Once you've got your old ball joint out, you've got this new one, and basically just threads in, so just keep winding it in, keep winding it in. And then obviously you're going to do the last tightening with the tool, and then you're going to hit the tabs over onto the flats to keep it secure. So the boot kit I got, this one was a Napa kit from Car Parts in Motion, I think. So it looks like a universal one. So when it comes, it has that section there. So it looks like for different cars, you cut it at different sections. So some would be narrow, you cut it there and cut it there. So the one on this one is the last biggest one. So all I did was cut in and then cut around with a pair of scissors. And then this end is a lot smaller than that one, but this is so much more pliable that once we push it on here, it quite easily goes over the end. And then we're pushing it on through to, you can see the machine surface, that's where the end of the boot sits. And with this one, it comes with cable ties, and then I need to pull the steering rack back the other way, get my hand in there, push it onto the lip of the inner steering rack, and then get a cable tie around there as well, and then that bit's done. So with, I can't say this is easy to do it this way. If you know how to get the under tray off easily, because it's got loads of attachments, take the tray off so you can get to that inner tie rod, the inner tie wrap to go on the boot, because it's a pain in the proverbial. With Paul's help, we got in there, I got my hand down from the top and was able to hold certain things, and then Paul was able to get a hand in here and sort it out. So we finally did it. It did take quite a long time, but it's done. Now put cable tie on the end. So all I've got to do now is put your nut on, put my rod end on and connect it up, and then get it tracked. I've already started to wind it out, but what I noticed when I got this car, which was only a couple of weeks ago, was I noticed the steering lock was what I thought pretty rubbish. I just thought generally it's a bit cack. But then when I was putting, I'd measured each arm to try and get them roughly back where they should be, and this one was really far in on the threads compared to the other side. I thought that's not right. So what I've done is I've counted the steering lock, which is 2.5 turns. I've then gone back, got it centre, 1.25 turns. So that's centre. And as you can see, loads of toe in that side. So it's completely out. So over the years they've been doing the alignment and they haven't centralised the rack. They've just been doing the toe. So obviously the steering turn one way was a lot worse than the other way. So I've centred it on the steering wheel, keep the steering wheel straight, and then just winding this out until roughly got it parallel. I measured between the ball joint this side and the ball joint that side, only a rough measurement. It was 144 centimetres. So I'm going to set it there. I'm then going to do the alignment from there, but it gives me a rough baseline and the rack will be centre. So everything's done other than tracking. Like I said in the last little segment about centering the rack, it's a massive difference. It took a lot of turns to get both of them pointing the same way and measuring. In the end, I've got the overall dimension, but I also, to get them roughly lined up, I took this little lip here, because these are the same make, took this little lip here to the middle of the ball joint, and I made it the same on each side, and then I'll do the tracking. But it was a massive difference. So obviously over the years, when it has had tracking, because I've seen invoices that it has, people haven't bothered to centralise the rack, which is why I try not to pay anyone else to do things on my car, because it's never done properly. But that's a whole different video, that is. But no, pleased with that.